It is hard to believe that we have had this van for almost 5 years. The longer you live in a van, the more you learn about what you want and what you don't want. So I'm not just going to do a 5-year review today. I'm also going to talk about if we were to build the perfect vehicle for us, what would it include and what would it exclude? When John and I travel, one of our favorite pastimes is to talk about the perfect van. And of course, there is no such thing. This van has come very close to being perfect for us, but there are a few tweaks we'd like to make if we could. And of course, what suits us would not necessarily suit you. Let's start with the length. Do we like the short chassis of the Mercedes? I would say yes. We like being able to park anywhere. The only exception to that is that when you add bikes on the back, you are as long as an extended vehicle. So with the bikes, it sticks out another 4 feet. So if we had the option to store bikes inside the van, that would be wonderful. More important to us is the ground clearance. And a 2-wheel drive vehicle, which this is, has very little ground clearance. So going off-road can be challenging. But it's easily fixable with the Agile Off-Road Ride Improvement Package, which gave us an extra 3.5 inches in the back and 2.5 in the front. We have loved it. It's probably the best upgrade that we've done. We think that adding these beefier KO2 tires along with this ride improvement package have significantly increased our opportunities of going off-road. And we don't really think a 4-wheel drive vehicle would have changed that. Now there is one reason that someone might want to go with a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and that's what we call the club. If you want to be a member of the club and not have to put on chains in snow areas, then you need to have 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And because our son lives in the mountains, that can be a real advantage. A lot of vans these days don't come with a spare tire, and that probably would be a big concern if we hadn't had the ability to add one. And this one is by Agile Off-Road. There's another company called Owl that also does a spare tire carrier. But even though we haven't had to use it, we really are glad that we've had it in case we did. The original tires that came with the van, we replaced at 20,000 miles because we were going to Alaska. Then we put the KO2 tires and they've gone something like 45,000 miles. So we've been really pleased with them, and that's why we replaced them with the same tires. There is a reason that upfitters leave the spare tire off, and that's because they need the space under the van for so much other stuff. Stuff that we would actually like to eliminate. The generator, the propane tank, and we'd actually like all of our other tanks, the freshwater and gray water, inside of the van so that we could have more of a 4-season camping experience. The generator sits right in front of the propane tank. And one of the strangest things, I think, is that it exhausts on the same side as the sliding door, which is really your living side. If you guys know what the reason is, let me know. Eliminating the weight in the van is also important to us, which is one of the reasons we would like to remove this awning. We don't find we use it because we have a moonshade. We store the moonshade right here, and it fits perfectly. And the reason we like it is because it's very easy to deploy, but it stays on the vehicle really well, whereas the awning will retract with the slightest breeze. Now I do know you can adjust those so it makes it harder, but wouldn't want to risk having it ripped off if a sudden gust came up, and that happens all the time out here in the West. I want to point out a bit of a pet peeve. The water fill is right here, which means the door has to be closed.
Same time.
Now let's go inside. There is only so much you can do inside of such a small space, but we think that Pleasureway did a really good job in designing this, and also the finish of it and the quality of the cabinets and all of that. It has worked out really well, especially considering the kind of rough roads that we have taken this thing down. Now, John, of course, is 6'5", so his pet peeve is there are so many things he hits his head on. I think the ceiling is 6'3", so you know the only vehicle that would help him is a Ford Transit. But he hits his head on things like this little knob from this fan, the Fantastic fan, which I would say is not as fantastic as the Max Air fan. Same with the air conditioner. it sticks down, and I know that there is a 12 volt air conditioner that looks really interesting to me. It's called Nomadic Cooling. 12 volt, if you have larger battery bank, you could run that off of your batteries. So perhaps that has potential in our perfect van. Don't know if you can see all the lights that are up here in the video, but I think it's overkill. Also don't like the bright white lights. I'd much rather have a soft light. And supposedly you can replace these things, but we tried to do that at a show once, and we borrowed one of the lights and tried to get this thing out. Couldn't do it. Maybe somewhere down the road someone will show us how it's done. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about may be controversial. When we first got this van, we thought that there's no way we were going to fit all of our stuff in here, but you find a way and you start eliminating things that you really don't need. But because we do a lot of off-road kind of driving, we would really like to eliminate all of these upper cabinets because there's a lot of rattling and rolling that goes on back here. It's at least a 6.5 earthquake. And you know, no matter how hard you try to get heavy things out of the upper cabinets, even bedding can be very heavy when it's all, you know, when you've got it all stuffed in there. Now I do like what Pleasureway has done in the Recon. They've used L-track and some kind of bungee situation, and that would be a great place to put things like compression bags with clothing. Those could go along in those kind of bungee storage areas. But you couldn't store bedding in a situation like that. So the solution is to have a fixed bed on a raised platform, and that opens up all kinds of opportunities, not only the fact that you don't have to store the bedding, but also underneath the bed, where you can put your tanks, your batteries, all that stuff, as well as bicycles if you had a longer vehicle. As long as we're eliminating weight, let's get rid of the TV too. Who needs a TV when they have these great small projectors and you can just have a pull-down screen? We've already eliminated the Blu-ray player that came right in here. And that means you can eliminate one more thing. The wine guard antenna that's on top of the roof. Who watches TV anymore? Microwaves? We really only use this for storage, and we could store a lot more if we didn't have that. Or we could do what Trish and Mark did from Keep Your Daydreams. They installed a small Ninja, I think it's a 10-way oven thing. It's an air fryer and a convection oven and all these things that it does. And it's a smaller footprint. I think that would be a much better solution. We have spent a lot of time sleeping in this bed. It is super comfortable. We actually sleep better on this bed than we do the one at home. Of course it's too short for John, but any bed's going to be too short for him. The only thing that I would change in the Dream Van is actually make the bed narrower, because it's almost a king size and we sleep in a queen size bed. And along the sides, put storage. It would be great to have a place where you could put a cup that you're drinking from. It would also be nice to have a place to store your clothes. Maybe it's your bed clothes or the ones that you're going to put on the next day. All kinds of great storage opportunities open up if you can have that spot along the sides of the bed. Anybody that watches this channel knows that we had lots of issues with the refrigerator that came in the van. It was a 3-way absorption refrigerator, and we replaced it with the isotherm, which was awesome because it fit almost perfectly in this spot. Didn't have to do any kind of alterations, and it keeps the food. In fact, right now it's 37 degrees in there, holds a lot, holds more than the other refrigerator. So this has been a great addition to our van. But there's another brand that I've come across that looks really interesting. It's made by a company called Vitrafrigo out of Italy. They have some units where the compressor is separate from the refrigerator. They have one called the Slim, and it is, I think, only 14 inches deep. So the compressor can be placed 3 feet away from the refrigerator. And that might be important depending on what kind of van you're building in. A lot of people worry that if they install a compressor refrigerator, they're going to go dead on their batteries too quickly. That has not been an issue for us. We have 200 amp hours of lithium batteries in the back, and probably because we drive enough and we live in a sunny location, it just hasn't been an issue. We really like having a separate bathroom, and we also really like having this separate sink, because in a small cooking space, it's really nice to be able to turn around and wash your dirty hands when you're cooking. It wasn't until the pandemic that we started using the indoor shower. Up until then, it was all outdoor showers or campground showers. Let's talk about tanks, black, fresh, and gray. We don't have any complaints about the size of the tanks in this van. We can usually go a week without water or dumping our tanks if we're really frugal. But a dream van would eliminate the black tank. And to do that, you have to go to something like a cassette toilet or a composting toilet. But there is something else on the market that's kind of a hybrid. It's called a separate, and that allows you to divert the liquids to a gray tank, thus getting rid of your black tank. Shall we talk about window coverings? The van comes with something called an MCD shade. The company is called MCD, and this is what they look like. They don't always work. The one on the sliding door has always been problematic. We've left this one in, but on the sides we've removed them and then replaced them with the curtains that I made with the warm window fabric. They do a great job of insulating, cutting out all the light when you're up in Alaska in the summertime. And we've been really happy with those. I've made lots of different adjustments, and you can see those in all my other videos. It seems like new vans are all coming out with ginormous sinks, but that's not been an issue for me. This is plenty big for me to put a dish in here, a pot, and clean it. This has also worked well since we put this little swivel on here, so no issues there. But wouldn't it be nice to have a water filter so that you didn't worry about drinking water from the freshwater tank? Now let's go take a look at the driver's side of the van. There's a lot of stuff over here. The water heater, which works great. Love the on-demand water heater. This is the shower, and this is my fault because I tried to switch out the cam lock here with one of these combination things, and I didn't do it right, so ignore that. But now that we have a compressor fridge, we don't need these vents. And the strange thing is Dometic makes a cover that you can put on in the winter time, but you can't find it in this country. I was able to find one online a while ago, but you have to buy them in pairs, and they come in, they're different sizes. There's 2 different sizes, so you get a pair, one that's bigger than the other. That means you got to buy 2 pair. And when I went back to buy another pair, I couldn't find them online. So I don't know why Dometic doesn't make them available here. If you've stuck around this long, let me see if I can tie a bow around all of this. You're probably wondering why I said this was the perfect van for us. Well, one of the reasons is because we've had pretty much no issues with either the chassis or the build quality. And we also found a really good dealer who's trustworthy and responsive. But perhaps the biggest reason is that this van has been a great teacher. It has forced me to learn mechanical systems, problem solving, and really shaped our travel style. Of course, a lot of that is due to you guys who have shared your expertise and knowledge, and I will always appreciate that. After 5 years, we know that we love this kind of travel, and we hope to do it for many years to come. But we also know that we are ready to build a dream van. Wherever our travel takes us, we hope you guys will want to come along. Thanks for watching.